This is the OFN Today on the Ourlads Football Network as we talk Washington football with Ken Meringolo, the managing editor of Hogs Haven, founder of First Amendment Sports. Ken, good talking football again with you. It's too bad we can't talk about the Redskins, though.
I know. Last time I was on, it was the Redskins, and now it's the football team. So
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. I know we had a bit of a conversation about it the last time. Hey, like I said before, give me wins. That's all I care about.
All right. Is that the general feeling from the public?
Yeah, like so many other things these days, the world is so full of distractions that this name change hasn't completely, fallen through the cracks, but for the most part, I think that it's just gone down the rungs of the ladder, so to speak. And I mean, again, if we were defending Super Bowl champions coming off of 12, 13, 14, 15 years of greatness, and an owner who had acted in good faith in the
Oh,
community,
yeah. There would be no
might have,
name change.
might have a different conversation about it. But at this point in
Absolutely.
time, I mean, we just want to see a quality product on the field, and it's not that you can call it whatever you want, but it's the Washington football team. Let the W stand for wins. How
There's
about that?
still
Of
going to be a lot of people who were going to call them the Redskins,
course.
and that's not going to change. And
When
there'll
I'm
be a,
writing, I have a hard time. When I do my writing, it's just automatic. I talk about Redskins players and my Redskins, and I have to go back and like edit it out and think, and I don't even know that I did it.
yeah,
So, but and it sucks because I'm doing it honestly. I
yeah,
grew up rooting for the Redskins. I
sure,
love my team, and you're gonna have a whole slew of people who are gonna be doing it confrontationally, for the next few
that's
years.
true.
I don't want to get mixed up with that.
That's the reason why especially you go to the games, the players, the organization, you have your ties to the community as well as with the team, and in order to maintain good PR, you got to do what you got to do. So it's
Yep.
totally understandable. Uh, so what about Snyder? Because not too much. It didn't take long after the whole name change deal that then it was about. Then we found out what the big news was all
Sure.
about. The scandal, the scandalous, the sex discrimination deal. Which, if you compare it to say the Dallas Mavericks, wasn't as bad. But the difference is, just like you said with Snyder, everybody loves Mark Cuban. Nobody loves Daniel Snyder, so it's
Nope.
going to be held. It's going to be handled differently. Uh, I know there was talk about they want to get rid of Daniel Snyder, but I mean that for Daniel Snyder to relent and let and okay, we'll change the name of the team is one thing, but to ask Daniel Snyder to give up ownership of his team, I'm not a Washington Redskin or football team guy. You are, but even from the outside, knowing Daniel Snyder, I can't imagine he is not going anywhere unless the league forces him to.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get dragged out of the building. That's the reality of the situation. Do I want him out? Of course I do. Most fans of this team and the residents of this community,
Yeah.
want him out.
Yep.
But fair is fair, and at least so far, there's nothing that would require his removal legally that we know about. At this point, um,
Oh, they're trying. They're trying to dig up dirt. What can
they're
we dig
trying.
up?
More power to them. It's a worthy endeavor. Whoever's out there doing the digging, keep digging. And again, it's so telling. This guy he's bright enough to capitalize on the loyalty and passion of guys like me, families and people like me, and monetize it over 20 years. And he's done well at that. But he's not so smart as to pull one over on us. I mean, I hate to be Mr. Cynic, but you know, in as this bombshell, so to speak, was forming, as this storm was forming over Washington, and prior to its making landfall, you had the name change. right? Then immediately after it happened, we hired the first female executive. And then, as the minority owners are scrambling to try to get him out, we go and hire the first black NFL president, in the league's history, and all these things are great. And I love the equal opportunity and the manner in which we are trailblazing in that way. But a leopard doesn't just change his stripes or his spots, overnight. And it's perfectly it's a perfect example of a terrible person, trying to do all those, right things that everyone's, but to do them all at once so that we don't pay attention to all the wrong things that have been happening. So,
Well, what's the
you know,
difference between Daniel Snyder,
yeah,
the man who doesn't understand how to run a football team,
yeah.
and Daniel Snyder, the person outside of football?
So he's from this area. I've worked for the last 14 years 5 feet away from a guy who went to his high school. The guy hasn't had a good reputation in this town well before he took over for the Washington
Okay.
Redskins. Even he's not a
Why?
well-liked individual. He's not a guy you'd see out on the town. He's not somebody that people walk up next to and want to buy him a beer or want to talk to him or hang out with him. He's not a well-liked guy. He just period flat out has had a bad
Personality wise, you're
now.
saying
Personality.
has he, besides, look, there's a lot of ruthless rich people, we get that, but has he done anything besides what we just learned regarding the sex discrimination? And look, that's gone on in other places, just like I was saying with the Dallas Mavericks, and nobody
Sure.
looks at Mark Cuban any differently. uh, so it happens.
Yeah,
uh,
he's got a terrible personality. He's a Grinch. He treats people terribly. He's been doing it ever since he took over for the Redskins. I mean, I can go down the list of the ways in which he's treated, vendors, ways in which he's treated, businesses that have wanted to operate at FedEx Field or his stadium, throughout the years. How he's treated employees. I mean,
how did he get this football team?
well, so, I mean, it's a great question, and I can tell you it's super fast. He had a communication. He was a direct sale guy. He did sold magazines and set up boiler rooms of phones, and he had Snyder Communications. He was smart enough. It hit the .com bubble. He sold it for over $2 billion right before that bubble burst. The Washington Redskins came up for sale. Jack Kent Cooke did not put in his will any kind of succession to his son, and Snyder, edged him out. I mean, he got it. He got this team for not that much. He was at the right place at the right time
Don't
with
you have to
enough
be
money to pull
approved
it off.
though? Doesn't the
Yeah,
league have to sit down, do some background research on these owners? Because there's a lot of owners with a lot of people with a lot of money
sure.
to buy football teams, and say, "Yeah, this he's got a bad rap. He's not a good guy. Let's go after other guys that have money." I mean, couldn't the league have done that?
Well, I mean, I think then we're just kidding ourselves that the owners group is a bunch of saints and angels. I mean, we've been talking about this in sports forever. The Hall of Fame isn't full of saints and angels. The leagues aren't full of
Sure.
saints and angels. So, I mean, he was a marketing whiz. He made a bunch of money marketing, and he came in the late '90s, 97, 98, something like that, right at a time when marketing was a thing. People wanted guys who could over market this product,
So they
and
they actually, the NFL looked at it as, hey, we got a guy that is a revolutionary, a guy that's a whiz in marketing, and he can help us market this team and the league.
I think that's what he sold him on. I mean, I know there was offers on the table for the Washington Redskins franchise for cash. People had put an offer in cash. Snyder's offer wasn't cash. Snyder's offer was debt. So they took Snyder's offer over people who were willing to write a check, which it tells you something. And and he went at it right away. He sold himself as a lifelong fan, who grew up going to games, and it was a family thing. And he had a whole song and dance, um, and he pulled the wool over a lot of people's eyes.
All right, so what has he done anything? What are the worst things that he's done outside of just the hiring of coaches, the hiring of GMs? Uh, Tell me, as a football fan, specifically,
Sure.
what things has he done where you've been able to go, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe this is something that he thought was good for the football team.
Yeah, so he might have been successful in hustling and marketing, in an era just prior to the dot-com boom. But as a football fan and as someone who loves the game, he decided that he knew better than people inside the league, inside the game, people who knew the sport, and he went at it right away, deciding that he was smarter than everybody else. I've when the thing you asked the question, what things did he do that made me cringe and say I can't believe he did that? Over and over and over again, he sidelined people who knew better, people who had scouts, coaches, executives, people who understand the league. I mean, you look at the league, there's organizations, Packers, Patriots, Steelers, organizations that over time have done it the right way and successfully. I mean, you could copy some of these organizations and the manner in which they operate. You could hire people from those organizations, and time again, what he did was he said, I want it to be all about me. I want to be the person making all the decisions. It doesn't matter that I've never done it before. It doesn't matter that I don't know what I'm doing. And so time and time again, you had, free agent signings that made no sense,
Yeah.
coaching hirings that made no sense, coaching firings that made no sense. Why do you hold on to a guy like Vinny Serrato for 10 years? Why do you hold on to a guy like Bruce Allen for 10 years? It's that to me. I mean, that's the top down one
Okay.
guy deciding I know better than everyone, and he's never known better than anyone.
Now, if we just woke up today and started to pay attention to football in the Washington market,
Yep.
seeing, like you said, the trailblazing that's going on,
Yep.
the hiring of Ron Rivera,
Which is good.
would you? And again, I'm not. Remember, we're just flying into Washington now. We have
That's
no
right.
baggage.
Yep.
Would you be sitting there going, "Hey, we've got a young first round draft pick. We've got a chance to maybe develop them. We've got a nice coach. We're trailblazing. This is a pretty good spot to be in as a Washington football team fan."
Yeah. I mean, I'm capable of being the glass, being half full. I got a optimistic paddle. We're like top 10 in the league in terms of young talent, on paper. 25 and under guys, they do that annual ranking. The Washington Redskins are right there. We got a lot of young talent. Whether you could say we drafted well or not, we are no longer an organization saddled with aging veterans who cost a lot of money. The Washington football team is going to come into the next couple of years with a lot of money to spend, and ideally they're going to be able to put those free agents around good, solid young players. I think Ron Rivera is the right guy for this job. I like Jack Del Rio coaching up our defense. I think Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator, is the kind of up and coming league coordinator, with a pedigree. Ironically,
We don't have any proof though yet.
well, Scott Turner did it in Carolina. He drew up a really good offense for Cam and for Christian McCaffrey. It's a lot of 21 personnel. I think our offensive line is a bit of a question mark, but I think it's an offense that we can run well. It can eat up clock, and it can really give our defense a chance to be our stronger unit. Because that's where we're heaviest. We have 5 first-round picks on the defensive line. We got a real heady veteran safety in Landon Collins, who's probably smart enough to capitalize on a solid defensive line. And so, there's pieces and there's reasons to be optimistic and hopeful.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. But
Sure.
If you just look at that stuff, I think you can get excited.
All right. Well, let's break down this team. First of all, Ron Rivera. Any reason to believe that he's going to miss a game?
Because of his cancer diagnosis?
Yes.
At this point in time, no. He seems to be signaling that it's something he'll be able to handle and deal with as he goes. So
And it's good to have someone like Jack Del Rio on the staff just in case that happens.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, by the way, who will make the decisions regarding personnel, free agents, the draft?
My understanding is that it's Ron Rivera. That this, because of what I talked about before about the disaster of keeping guys like Vinny Serrato and Bruce Allen for 10 years at a time, the thing that I like the most about what Dan Snyder has done as a football executive over the last 9-10 months is go announce that we're leaving behind the GM-centric model and we're moving to a coach-centric model, which, again, it's a page out of the New England playbook, for example. And so we've hired a coach who is capable of being a coach-centric organization. And so Ron Rivera, my understanding is Ron Rivera is making all those calls.
Okay. By the way, Rivera, was he in charge of the last draft?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was his. When did he come in? When was he hired?
Oh,
January?
it was early. It was before the draft, and it was early on because everyone was shocked that Ron Rivera took the job.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, but not the least of which is that we were one of the first teams he kind of spoke to. I want to say it was sometime in March, and so I
But
think that
Snyder made him a deal he couldn't refuse. Hey, here's an opportunity to run the entire organization, which no one else was going to give him.
I think that's right. I
Yeah.
think that's right. Plus, it's like your classic scenario where like this we can't get any worse. Like you could come in and be a hero,
Absolutely.
by not doing too much.
Absolutely. Who
Yeah,
wouldn't want to take that opportunity to your ego? Hey,
yeah.
I can do this, so why not? And that's but I'm assuming though that a lot of the guys though that were scouting the draft, they were still there. There been a big turnover as far as scouts and things of that nature behind the
Yes,
scenes getting ready for the last draft.
yes and no. There was the Bruce Allen firing really turned things up because we had a guy named Eric Schaefer who was a cap wizard, and he was kind of the guy who'd been managing that for a while, and by all accounts, well regarded in the league for his acumen with regard to salary caps. And he got wrapped up in the Bruce Allen firing. Apparently, he was somebody who had given Bruce some poor legal
All
advice,
right.
and it leaked that he was on his way out. I think they wanted him to stay through
Okay.
free agency in the draft, and so he was out. Got a guy named Kyle Smith, who's a young guy that Washington football team fans they know who he is. He's a guy who we've kind of pushed to be a personnel guy,
Okay.
Scott McLuhan, Bobby Beathard type guy who has an eye for talent. And so he's been elevated in the building, but he's been there for a few years. So I think he has more responsibility than he has had in the past.
Which is
And
a good
so,
thing.
yeah, so he's both old and new, and so I think that's
Okay.
a good thing.
All right. Let's start with the offense then. And the offense, well, let's go right at quarterback.
Yeah,
Definitely doing Haskins' team.
I'm a Haskins guy. I mean, I said it a million times. Alex Smith should never play football again. He'd be a moron. But I always knew that he was guy. In fact, I'm going to win some money, Greg. I always knew he was going to be back on the field. That's the
That's
way
right. What was that bet you had again?
Well, one of the bets is for a bottle of very, very nice whiskey, and then I have a couple of pesos on a separate bet. All he's got to do is suit up on a Sunday, helmet and pads. I believe in my heart that the movie is already being cast. That guy's getting on the field, and he's getting under center this year. But I do think it's Dwayne Haskins' team.
Okay. And so far, what's the word as far as the new offense and Haskins, just specifically the quarterback to offensive coordinator relationship?
Yeah, so I think it. Of course, here I go. I mean, you're going to get me all optimistic, but he's trimmed his weight. He's changed his body. Haskins kind of came in. Kind
Big
of baby
boy.
fat,
Yes.
240, 250. I think he's running about closer to about 220. And he looks a little more chiseled. He's been working out a lot. He's been asking to stay busy. I think him and Scott Turner have been working a lot together on language and an understanding of what to do and where to go with the ball. So, the best thing you could say is that he got exposed to the game last year,
Yeah, sure.
and so he
Happens
got
to all of them.
but he got beat up, which you never want to see. But I think also part of that was, if he's a little bit more mobile, a little bit more athletic and strong, which he is now, that could certainly help him as we move forward. But he's gonna have to endure some hits. And you look at him, he has the body that's capable of that. He's not the kind of quarterback he's not made of glass, and he can take a hit. He's really built that way. If you look at him all the way back through college and into high school, he's always been a bigger body. He's willing to take that hit, and he usually gets up off the ground, no problem.
early on in the, let's just say week 1, who is gonna suit up as the number 2? It's gonna be Allen, right?
Oh, now see, now you're really. I mean, so if
Is there
Alex Smith
really
is
a chance that Alex Smith could suit up and be the number 2 guy in week 1?
That's the world we live in. That's the this is brought to you by Disney, Greg. I'm
Wow.
telling you, we're paying him $20 million. Now that should that matter? Of course not. But if he's fully healthy, which apparently he's been cleared to participate as a fully healthy player, he would have the upper hand because of his. You and I know better than anyone. Veteran coaches like Rivera, guys who've been in the league a long
Oh,
time,
absolutely.
they like veteran quarterbacks.
It's just about
And
health. That's all it's about.
if he's
Yeah,
healthy, I think
I
it's Alex
guess,
Smith.
yeah. Okay.
Kyle Allen played, a dozen games
Yeah.
for this offensive coordinator for this, and
Yep.
for Rivera last year in Carolina. So there's some experience there, but a 36, 37-year-old, after school special, made for Disney movie type stories, sitting, warming up in the bullpen is going to be hard to pass up a lot of days.
Yeah, the backup thing, walking off the bench is a lot more movie-like than we're gonna make a switch and he's gonna be ready to go next week.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
I could see that being the case. Okay, let's look at the running back situation. It's got to be fixed in Washington. I mean, wow, it's still, and every year we still got Adrian Peterson. So that's pretty much what it is Adrian Peterson just keeps winning this job by default every year because all these young kids get in there and they're either injured or like Darius Geis. I mean, what the heck went on with Darius Geis?
Well, come to find out, it's not something that's new. And it's tough because he really ingratiated himself in to this town. He had a big smile. He did some good things. He reached out. He communicated, engaged with fans. He, for all intents and purposes, really kind of embraced the idea of being part of a community based team, social media, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, the police report is brutal. It's so brutal. And then I come to find out there were incidents back in college that LSU really never got on top of. And I mean, the guy's been a free agent for 2 weeks, hasn't been signed by anybody. And I think that's about as telling as you need it to
Oh yeah,
be.
yeah.
He's out. He's
I'm
gone.
having a hard enough time even believing that a team, after what we just heard the last couple of days with Earl Thomas, which has nothing even compared to Geist, but still, he's had a little off the field stuff happening to
Yes,
Thomas.
yes.
I'm wondering, is a team going to take the chance even with Earl Thomas? I mean, that's
Well,
one
they'll.
big distraction.
Earl Thomas is getting signed.
He
For sure.
is absolutely. That's a talent thing. All right. Let's go then with the backfield because Antonio Gibson was drafted in the 3rd round. And he is a weapon. We know that. Bryce Love. This is supposed to be the year. Maybe he'll need another year, but this is supposed to be the year that he's supposed to look more like the guy that was a Heisman candidate a few years ago, pre-injury. Then you've got the 2 veterans that were signed, Barber and McKissick. So is it possible? I'm thinking Gibson's the only guy that has a chance to steal away reasonable touches from Adrian Peterson. But you
Oh
tell
no.
me.
So Antonio Gibson has touches built into this offense on day one. He's not stealing anyone's touches. I think he's already been chalked up touches. I think he's gonna
He's not going to be the number 1 running back, though. He's going to be a guy that they're going to use for a variety of roles.
he's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to be
Okay.
lining up in different places, but they're going to run. A lot. Scott Turner is going to give him the ball in Christian McCaffrey type plays, and that's gonna. I mean, again, I say 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. I think Bryce Love and Antonio Gibson. That's going to be your most dynamic, most dangerous backfield. And I think the running back, the number 1 spot on the depth chart is Bryce Love's to lose.
Really?
Because
he's looking that good.
Yeah, if he's cleared and he's participating, he is that good.
Well,
And
I know he's that good. I loved him
yeah,
in college. I
yeah.
just couldn't believe how good he was in college. Devastated by the injury as a fan. And you see these running backs that get hurt like this, and then they just disappear, and you never hear from them again. So it would be a great story, a great thing to hear that he can get over that type of a serious injury and be the player that he was supposed to be. Because if he can be that guy, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think Peterson again. Peterson's just gonna kind of be there.
Okay.
Uh, he'll get he'll be on the field. He'll do his thing. He'll get touches. But I think with Geis in town, Geis would have been the bell cow, most touches running back we have. I think Bryce Love is going to track into that spot.
Okay. So you think it's very possible that the standard lineup will be walk out on the field. You'll have Love and Gibson back there
That's what I would
before AP steps on the field.
before AD steps on the field.
AD. No, AP, Adrian Peterson. Who's AD?
All day. They call it his name.
Oh,
AD,
is that okay? Yeah. See, I'm
all
not
day.
from Washington, so I don't know these little nicknames. All right. So, tight end. This is another position. Injuries have definitely hurt this unit over years, but Jordan Reed is now gone to San Francisco. And all I could tell San Francisco fans, and I'm sure you probably tell them the same thing, don't hold your breath. They already have Kittle anyway. But who's the man? Who's going to win the job? You got Moss is an interesting character as the free agent pickup, but is Jeremy Sprinkle, because I mean, Richard Rodgers is just a guy. Is this a problem? Is this a problem position? Or, I mean, Logan Thomas, the COVID thing, and
huge problem position. Thaddeus Moss, I thought was on the street again. But the Logan Thomas is a guy we brought in, and right now he's kind of slated to be that number one wide receiver. Jeremy Sprinkle, number one tight end.
So he's done with the COVID. Logan Thomas.
I believe he's been cleared. Yes.
Okay.
And he would probably be penciled in as our starting tight end with Jeremy Sprinkle as our number two. We got a guy named Hale Henches, and then of course Richard Rodgers. I mean, it's the most uninspiring, as inspiring as Alex Smith's comeback is. That's how uninspiring our tight end.
You can't have every position set when you're a team in the shape that the Redskins. Yes, I said Redskins. So did you just say Moss was on the street?
I have him as a free agent right now. I know we brought him in as an undrafted.
Oh, really? So they didn't like him. What they saw.
I'm looking at a depth chart right now, and I don't see him listed.
You're looking at the Arlands depth chart.
I always have the Arlads.
All right. So if the Arlads depth chart says no Moss, then there is no Moss.
And it's a shame too, because we would have liked to have seen Randy Moss's kid get a little bit of love.
Yeah, he had talent. He had some talent. Yeah. Look, he wasn't like he wasn't going to do anything like stretch the defenses or anything like that, but still, with a tight end room like this, he could have been useful. All right, offensive line. You brought in Lucas and Schweitzer, so that's your new left side, correct? You don't seem to really be optimistic about that.
I mean, you're talking about the left side?
The left side.
The left side, I'm hoping for the kid out of LSU, Charles. Okay.
You want him to beat out Schweitzer?
I mean, yeah. So he's more talented than when he was picked. He had issues at college also, and God only knows how that's going to shape up in summer. He is the most physical left tackle specimen that we have.
Okay. Schweitzer's not a really. Yeah, you're probably better off with him on the bench.
Yeah, I would like to. I'd like to. We got Jaron Christian. He's got some experience there. But if Charles can get his act together and get on the field, that would be the best outcome for us. If he earns that spot, that's the best, because I think physically he's the most gifted.
And now Lucas bounced around until last year with the Bears. He had his breakthrough year. And so, but now he's with a new team again. I believe this is his fifth team in 7 years. So is that the hope, though, is that Lucas can man that spot, right?
I think the hope is that he can play if called upon, and everything that's happened to us over the last 5 years, he's going to be called upon. We've gone through, I think, 75,000 offensive linemen. So, I mean, you just can't have enough guys who can play, carrying 10 or 11 offensive linemen. Lucas has to be a guy, if they call his number, he has to be able to go in there. Because the number one job for all these guys, if we're not going to make it to the Super Bowl, the number one job is get this rookie second-year quarterback out of the season healthy.
Absolutely. Now, does Wes Martin have a chance to play any?
I
Okay.
think so.
Where's he
I think so.
battling for? What position?
Left guard.
Okay, so he's in that mix with Charles and Schweitzer
Yeah, I would probably have Wes Martin with a lead at left guard right now.
right
I
now.
think
Okay.
yeah,
All
I
right.
think so.
And he's got the
He has some
experience.
reps.
Yep.
He's got a pedigree, and I think he's a kind of a nasty fight, inside fighter. I like him at guard.
Okay. And Roulier, he's just a holdover kind of guy, right? Because they got the kid from Alabama last year, and then he drafted Keith Ismail this year in the 5th round. 2 5th-round centers drafted the last 2 years. That would be the better scenario, is one of those two guys take over the job, right?
Yeah, Roulier is kind of like that player who you think you got better guys than him, and then all of a sudden you get to week one and he's your starter.
Yeah.
So
He's
um,
okay. He's not
he's
bad.
okay.
Yeah.
I would kick Ishmael is a player that a lot of people like. He's got a lot of upside, and Pierschbacher again is a player who has versatility. So I think he'll make the team that way. Um, Ishmael is somebody who will put a smile on your face, if he starts playing well. But again, Roulier ends up being the guy who wins it out. I think based on his experience, and he makes probably makes a veteran head coach feel a little bit better on game day.
All right, now at receiver, you had the big rookie season from the kid from Ohio State.
Yep,
That was one of the bright spots
yep.
for the team last year. You've drafted Gandy Golden in the 4th round this year,
Liberty Bibbity.
and what's that?
We'll call him Liberty Bibbity.
There you go. Okay, uh, Harmon, he is somebody to keep an eye on. He has
He's out.
talent.
He's out. He tore his ACL.
Oh, he did. He's
It's a real
officially on
shame
the
too.
IR. Okay, when did he
He's
tear his
out.
ACL?
He did it like a month ago.
He did. Okay, because I didn't see him on the IR but now he's on the IR. He's
Yeah,
actually he's officially out. Okay.
it's a shame, but yeah, he's out.
All right. So then you got Quinn. Of course, he's there. Uh, he's just a guy, I think. But you tell me. So it's really you're hoping Gandy Golden definitely becomes maybe well, with the room looking the way it does, he needs to get a lot of touches
Yep.
and be a guy that can do something with those touches. But who else? Is there somebody? And I don't want to hear about Dontrell Inman. So is
So
there some?
Dontrell Inman's going to see the field.
Yeah, come on.
Better
That's
worse.
not a good thing. So give me
But
another
Steven
guy.
Sims,
Steven
Steven Sims,
Sims.
he's the guy. He fought his way into the mix last season. And everyone saw him as kind of just a punt returner, specialist type guy. And before you knew it, they were designing plays to get him the ball, and he was making plays. So he's going to be a factor. He's going to be our starting slot wide receiver. He's going to get plenty of targets and plenty of opportunities to perform. He's a starting wide receiver for this team, and ultimately, he takes Trey Quinn's role. Trey Quinn, who I love, by the way. I love Trey Quinn. He pitched in the Little League World Series. He's only ever led the world in catches and receiving. Before getting to the pros. But he would be the odd man out. With Steven Sims in the room. And then you have. I mean, then you just have
Yeah.
random names.
Well, Isaiah Wright, I'm interested in. He's still on the team, right?
Yep. Isaiah
Yeah.
Wright, Jordan Veazey, Jester Way, Cam Sims. Cam Sims is a guy. I mean, he's flashed in the preseason, and he hasn't really, had an opportunity. I guess that's the main thing, Greg, is that there's an opportunity to get some touches and make a mark at wide receiver.
And look, there are some veteran free receivers still out there. So
yeah, and we just let one of them go. I mean, Cody Latimer, of course, he had his own problems, but he was on the commissioner exempt list and hoping to get back into the mix, and he's gone.
he is gone. Okay. All right. Now let's take. So bottom line though is the tight end receiver room is definitely of needing some more bodies for sure. So they're going to run the ball a lot, and this is where Antonio Gibson comes in, because that's a guy with the issue of not enough depth at receiver and tight end. A guy like Gibson becomes more valuable and is going to get a lot more touches.
I got him at double-digit targets out of the gate,
Okay.
and probably closer to 15, 16 easily.
All right. Defensively, they are definitely switching to a 4-3.
Yep.
Okay. How does that what do you do with Sweat, Kerrigan, and Chase Young?
So for me, I mean, I know that Kerrigan's going to get the nod because of his veteran status, and he's been showing up to work every day since he got into the league. I think Montez Sweat and Chase Young on the ends is your plan A. I think those are two alpha male beast athletes. Big bodies, strong, and probably this scheme favors what they can do best, which is
Absolutely.
get after the quarterback.
Oh, and then with Payne and Allen in the middle. I mean, this could be. I mean, just remember, where this defense was just a few years ago,
Yep.
and then they go out and they draft Allen in the first round, Payne in the first round, Sweat in the first round, Young in the first round,
Yep.
and so far, and it's not easy to not miss on one of them, and they haven't missed on any of them.
No, Kerrigan's a first rounder. Then they have
Well, Kerrigan's an old guy though, but
I
we're
know,
talking
I know,
about young guys.
Ioannidis is a good guy, and you look at Tim Settle. He's a
Yes.
second, third-year guy out of, I think, Virginia Tech.
Yes.
And he's in the mix in the middle there. So that's where we're strongest is on the defensive line, and if we're gonna make any hay out of the gate, that's where it's gonna have to be putting quarterbacks on the run. Blocking up holes at the line of scrimmage, and make ideally giving our defensive backs a little bit of an advantage that they haven't really enjoyed over the last few years.
And who's the guy between Allen and Payne that has the most upside?
Well, Allen's he is so gifted and strong. I mean, I love Payne, and Payne's great, and we didn't miss on him, and he's a very, very good player. But Jonathan Allen, he's the beastly leader of the bunch, and we go as he goes.
Okay, and then we take a look at so Kerrigan winds up being more like the first guy off the bench in pass rushing situations.
Yeah, I mean, edge setting, pass rushing. I mean, he's gonna get some one-on-ones, and we'll see if he's still got it.
Okay. Linebacking room. Thomas Davis was brought in. We talked about Cole Holcomb being a nice pickup in the 5th round last year. You've taken Kaliki Hudson in the 5th round this year. So talk a little bit about, is it going to be Davis and Holcomb with 2 of those spots? And if so, who's the 3rd guy?
So I think it's going to be Thomas Davis and Reuben Foster at the weak side and strong side, with Cole Holcomb coming in on the strong side for Reuben
Foster. Okay, yeah. All right.
So Reuben Foster's healthy. He's a talent.
He's
played with these guys, and yet another Alabama guy, it'll be his job to lose. And then now you're talking about.
Now, is he just a knee injury guy, or has he also had some personal things?
Well, he had some personal things. We actually signed him in the midst of those personal things.
That's what I thought.
They were thrown out. The NFL investigated.
And he's been a good boy so far.
And he's been a good boy. He tore his ACL, I think, again in the summer last year, like a Kelvin Harmon type injury. He was out of the season before it even got underway.
Okay. But now they say he's looking good.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think he's the starting linebacker on week 1 for us. And then it really comes down to who's going to play middle. And they re-signed John Bostic, and here's a guy he's a classic. I think I can legitimately say Redskins here. Say like an old school Redskins middle linebacker. He's not sexy. He's not flashy. He won't be a first guy picked, in the schoolyard. But he gets the job done. He's sound. He's fundamentally sound. The coaches trust him, and I think that goes a long way. I mean, you have
until someone younger and better comes along.
Until someone younger and better comes along, and every team like ours who's good in some places and just like huge holes, like tight
you're
end,
rebuilding. Sure.
You got to fill the John Bostics of the league will always have jobs on teams like ours because you need bodies, and he's still got some juice, and we need him.
All right, and then finally in the secondary, Dunbar's gone, but that actually turned out to be
I mean, for goodness sake, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Talk about
Again,
stupidity.
chalk
Yeah.
it up, chalk one up for Rivera. He made that call, and it was the right one.
There you go. All right. So, and then Norman, of course, is out too, but he did nothing for you guys last year. So Darby's in. He's the new guy, and then he drafted
Yep,
someone in the 7th round. So there's not a whole lot of newness. Other than Sean Davis is also here, but
yep.
Sean Davis is still kind of looking to live up to his status as a 2nd-round draft pick. I'm not sure he's ever going to be that guy, but he made 41 starts for Pittsburgh, out most of last year with that injury to his shoulder in
Yep.
week 1. Is he penciled in right now alongside Collins at safety?
Oh yeah, Collins and Davis are our starting safety tandem right now.
All right, and then at corner, how's that going to look right now?
So Kendall Fuller comes home. We drafted him. He went to high school right up the street. We covered him in high school. He went to in fact, he played at the conference that I always blabber on about, the Catholic League I cover here and put on TV. He went to good counsel, and he comes home after making some plays in the Super Bowl. He'll be starting on one side, and then another guy we drafted, Fabian Moreau, a West Coast kid. One thing Bruce Allen liked to do is take guys in the 2nd and 3rd round that fell out of the 1st round because of injury reasons. And Fabian Moreau was one of those guys. He's a first round prospect, I think out of UCLA, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
UCLA.
Got some size and some speed. I've been watching him. I watched him ever since he got here. I love him. I love the way he plays. This is his year to
Oh yeah, you have to.
make the job his, or it's over for him. I think Fuller and Moreau are your starting outside corners. And then
Is
you
Fuller
got
better outside or in the slot?
I like him outside, but
Okay.
I mean, I think he's got the size. He's been playing a lot of slot in his career
Yeah.
with Washington. I think he's better as an outside corner, but as it turns out, no one ever calls me to ask me those kinds of questions.
All
So
right. And Jimmy Moreland is your slot guy?
And Jimmy Moreland I think Jimmy Moreland, Danny Johnson, and Ron Darby are just your next guys up. I think they're, again, I don't know that we have the luxury of having dedicated guys. I mean, I think Kendall Fuller is an excellent slot guy for that matter.
Yeah.
So I think,
Well, so you think it's possible Darby could wind up starting and maybe even move Fuller inside?
sure. I don't know how they're going to work that out, but I think Darby is certainly capable of being on the field for us as a starting
So
quarterback.
it sounds like the secondary is like still, well, the corners are still kind of, you're starting to figure out roles.
Yeah, I think the good news is we have talent and experience, and
it's up to Del Rio.
And you got Del Rio. So again, defense is not our problem. The problem is going to be if they have to stay on the field for 40 minutes a game. That's going to be the problem.
Or, if anything happens to the guys up front, but the pass rush should negate the time that some of those DBs would spend out there on their own. So that'll help. Yeah, I agree. The defense, but in the future, it looks like the secondary needs some more players, especially at corner more than anything. You need more talent there. You got to find a middle linebacker of the future. And offensively, you just need a lot more bodies. That's maybe next year's draft and free agency. That's offense has got to really be replenished with some.
It's a find out year. So you got a new coach and a new staff, a new team president, everything new, and a very young roster. So the good news, we do. Yes, I think instead of saying we need more bodies, I think we need to identify the bodies that we have. We got a lot of young guys who haven't had a lot of experience. They know how to play football. They're here for a reason, and given an opportunity, I expect some of these guys to turn into players.
I agree.
And so that's the good news for the Washington fans is that, you have a competent, eye in Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio and some of these coaches, and they've resisted in many cases bringing in, those 32 and 33-year-old guys to get it done for us because we gotta find out about these
Absolutely.
young kids.
No, that's right. And that's what this year is going to be about. And you hit it right on the head. Next year can be the year where if you hit it right in the offseason with the right moves, with those players that'll fit into the spots that you figured out are the weaknesses, then you can start dreaming, especially if Haskins develops into the true savior at quarterback, you can start dreaming about potentially battling for your playoff spot in 2021. So.
Absolutely. And I don't expect I'm not going to be unrealistic and in my expectations for this team, but I don't expect to get blown out. I think that we can play good defense. I think that our scheme offensively is designed to stay on the field for one or two extra series, to help our defense. And you know, if we lose 20-17 or 24-20, those kinds of games, with a chance at the end, I still think it's going to be a different brand of football than what we've been used to, and
Yes.
one that we'll be able to readily identify as in the right direction.
Ken, I appreciate it as always. I look forward to talking to you once the season gets underway.
Yep.
And we'll check you out at hogshaven.com and First Amendment Sports. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, Greg.